welcome to today's show. So today we're going to look at some simple growth and decay. This has to do with simple interest and some simple depreciation, although the word is decay, but we'll talk about more of that as we are progressing with the lesson. So let's just jump right into it. Now, the first thing that we just need to look at is our concept map of where we are going and from where. The first concept will be the concept of growth. We have two types of growth that we talk about, which is the simple interest and the compound interest. Then we have what we call decay, which is the opposite of growth. And this would be a straight line, which is the same as simple interest, but under decay. And we have a reducing balance, which is also the same as compound interest, but actually under decay. So I'm using these terms because these are terms that are normally used when it comes to exam situations, and not really simple interest, decay, or anything like that. Okay, so as I've just said, guys, our main focus is simple growth and also simple decay, which is actually straight line decay. But before we do that, we need to ask ourselves some questions. One, have you ever thought how some people grow their money? We know that some people do really make money, but we never see where the money goes. Some we do see it, some we don't see, but we know it's somewhere, and after a certain duration of time, it will have grown to be a very large amount of money, and then they live happily ever after. And then also, what has been your best choice of saving money? So let's say you want to buy maybe a console or something that is a bit expensive, and you can't afford it at the time, but you have the opportunity of saying you are saving the money that you get as an allowance maybe, or the money that you normally use when you go to school and you don't use all of it. Have you ever had some best choices that you made when it comes to saving that money? You need to please think about that. Now, our main concept here would be growth, firstly, which is actually simple and compound, but our focus is on simple interest. Remember that one of the things that you need to think about is, have you ever thought about having lots and lots of money? So, let's say you have 8,000 Rand, right? And you decide to save this money. What would be the best savings option? Now, guys, you know that some people, they depend on maybe under the mattress, some look at a piggy bank, some look at a bank, some look at shares, some look at a lot of things to save their money. So what would then be your option? But I'm going to have two options. One will be a piggy bank, and then the other one will be a financial institution like a commercial bank or a savings account with a certain company, and also that's what we're going to look at, and look at the differences between the two, depending on what your needs are. Hence, my very first question is, have you ever thought about having lots and lots of money? I know I have. So I make my decisions quite wisely at some points, but you know, life happens at times. So our first option is, how much will you have after 5 years if you say you put your money in a piggy bank, right? Let's talk about this. The amount you saved would have been 1,000 Rand, which is what you got. This is a piggy bank, guys. It's something that you have in your house, right? You always see it there and you throw in coins. But right now, the only amount you have will be the 1,000 Rand. After year one, it will still be 1,000 Rand in the piggy bank. After year two, it will still be 1,000 Rand. Not 1,000 Rand more. No, the very same amount you saved will still be that same amount. After year 3, it will still be 1,000 Rand. After year 4, it's still 1,000 Rand. After year 5, it's still 1,000 Rand. So what does that mean? It means that there is no change, there is no growth, there is no rate of growth or anything like that. So even if maybe we were to draw a graph for this, this will be something like this. I will draw a graph which is linear like that, where this will be the 1,000 Rand that I had. So each and every year, even if you can leave this for 20 years in your piggy bank, it will remain 1,000 Rand after those 20 years. But if maybe you are like myself and at times you just want to get, some interest on your money, you go to the bank and you say, can I please save my money in a savings account? And then they say to you, we're going to offer you some simple interest of 12% per annum. Remember, simple interest is always at the end of the year, right? Hence, it's per annum. Let's look at what this means. So it means for the first year, I'm going to get 12% of 1,000 rand, because that's the initial amount that I actually saved. So I will look at what is my 12% of the 1,000 rand that I've actually saved in the bank. And this will be what? 12 over 100 multiplied by the 1,000. And this will then give me 120. So it means, since it's a simple interest, remember simple interest has to do with a straight line. So each and every year, you are adding the same amount of money in the bank or in your savings account. So in great detail, this is how it will look like. For the first year, at the end of the first year, you will have 1,120, meaning it's 1,000 plus the 12% of that 1,000. And then for the second year, you will add again the 1,200. Remember, the 1,200 will be 12% of the initial amount that you started your investment or your savings account with. Year 3, you add 120 again, which will go to 1,360. Year 4, you add again 120. Year 5, you add again 120. So if we go back to the previous one, you can see that for the duration of my investment or your savings account, you're going to have 120 multiplied by 5, right? Which will actually be 600. And that's how much you are going to get as interest on your investment or on your savings account of 1,000 rand for 5 years. So what we're talking about, you will be looking at exactly the term and length of time with simple growth and not necessarily a piggy bank or a mattress like some people do. There is what we call a principal amount. There is what we call accumulated amount, which I know you know that it's when after a duration of time, the amount that you get from the bank plus the initial amount that you saved will be the accumulated amount. Now we have one word, appreciation. I added this one because I want you to understand something. We're going to talk about depreciation as well. So with depreciation, it's the opposite of appreciation. I know appreciation, you're thinking it's us clapping hands and giving someone Thanksgiving or something because they did something good. But in this concept, that's not what we mean. Appreciation in this concept would mean growth, right? So something going up. So appreciation would be an increase in the investment or savings account that you have. And then the opposite will be depreciation, which is something that we're also just going to talk about now. Now, there is what we also call the interest rate. That's how much the bank is offering you. With the previous example where you were given 1,000 rand, you saw that they gave us 12% interest, right? So that would be the interest rate. This mathematically, it actually looks like this, right? So the equation for this will be A is equals to P, open bracket, 1 plus I multiplied by N. And we know that our A will be the accumulated amount or the appreciation amount maybe. And then P will be the principal amount. I will be the interest that we spoke about. So just quickly to go back to that question, remember that you were investing 1,000 rand, right? Or you were saving 1,000 rand. And you were saving this at an interest of 12%. So that's 0.12. And then multiply, you are saving it for 5 years. So if you were to press this in your calculator, it will then be 1,000 rand there. I open my bracket, 1 plus 0.12 multiplied by 5, and this will amount to 1,600. So you remember that at the end, we're left with or you actually got 600 as your interest. So this would be what mathematicians have done for us to make life easy, that when we are calculating, we just go to the formula, punch in the values. You just need to know what is what on the formula. Let's look at maybe one more example of this. So Sam wants to invest 3,550 for 5 years, right? So this would be the P value, the principal amount. This will be my duration, which is N. In a bank that offers him a savings account that pays simple interest. Simple interest, that's important of that. Now, guys, you need to look at keywords, please. Your keywords are what will tell you exactly what is it that you need to use in terms of the formula. So here they are telling us that the initial amount that Sam wants to invest is 3,550. They want to invest it for how long? For 5 years. What is happening here? The financial institution says, we give you a savings account, and the savings account will give you a certain amount of interest that is simple interest. So that's very important. Then we will need to know how much will then Sam have after 5 years of saving his money there. Now, how much will his investment be worth after 5 years, right? So what this means is, I will say A is equals to P1 plus I multiplied by N, right? Remember, I is the interest, which is the 12,5. N will be the 5 years. P will be the 3,550. So this is 3,550 into 1 plus my I will be 0,125. Multiply this by 5, which is for 5 years. Then let's just quickly go to the calculator and see exactly what this means. So I will have 3,550. This is at an interest of 12%, 12,5 rather, multiplied by the 5 years, right? And then that's how much Sam is going to have after 5 years of saving that amount. So that's 5,768. So this will be 5,768. Let me just verify. Yes, 68 and 75 cents. Please remember that this is money, so you don't say comma 75. Rather, it's and 75 cents. Now, one typical example that I just want to show you is, guys, if so that would be the question that we just answered, right? Our P is that, our I is that, the N is that. We use that formula. And then after you calculate, you get the amount that you just got. If you were to calculate and you find your answer to be, let's say, 2,520, 5 like this, and you write this as your answer, this would be marked wrong. Why? Because we're talking South African rands, and South African rands we don't have 5. Instead we have 50, which means 50 cents or and 50 cents. So those are one of the things that I want you guys to please have a look at when you are rounding off. When they say round off to 2 decimal places, it normally means if there is a 0 after the number, you definitely need to include the 0, because it talks to the cents that we have, because this is South African money. Guys, that's all from me for now. Let's go quickly to an ad break, and I'll be back with some more. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back. So we are still busy with some simple interest and simple decay. First segment, we looked at our simple interest and exactly what does it mean. We looked at different opportunities or options that we will get if we wanted to save money. If you have a piggy bank, what does that mean for the money that you put in there? But if you go to a financial institution and they give you a simple interest of 12%, what does that mean as well? So that's what we've been looking at so far. Now let's go down and look at simple decay. So decay will be the opposite of appreciation. Remember the first word I used? I said we're going to look at appreciation. Now we're looking at depreciation, which is the same as decay. right? So they use the word decay and depreciation interchangeably so, and they quite mean one and the same thing. So the big idea is decay. We have straight line and reducing balance, and then but we are focusing on the straight line, which is the same as the simple interest decay. Our keywords are decay and depreciation. The reason I'm using both of them is because I want you to realize that these mean the same thing. It just means a decrease of what we are talking about. Now, if we look at this, have you ever thought about if you were to maybe have a certain value of an asset that you bought, maybe let's say a computer, and you bought it for 4,000, right? And you bought this for 4,000. After a year, how much will it be? After 2 years, how much will it be? After 3 years, how much will it be? After 4 years, how much will it be? So clearly you know that almost all the gadgets, the same as maybe cars, when you buy them, as soon as you have used it, you can't sell it at the very same amount that you bought it with. And that's what decay and depreciation is all about. And this is what straight line depreciation is. So you can see at the end of year 2, this will actually be worth 3,000, but you bought it at 4,000. At the end of year 3, you will see that it's actually now worth 2,000, which is now half what you bought it for. And at the end of year 4, you will find that it's now 8,000 rand. So what does that mean? You've actually made a loss. But it's not really a loss because you've actually used this particular goods. And then you've tried to do everything. So the person that's going to use it as well, it might now be slow because it's a computer. You know, after some time, it becomes slow. The processor does not process quickly. When you're trying to do things, it does not have enough space anymore, and all of those things. Now, if we look at this in terms of a table, this is what we are talking about. So first year, you bought it, it was 4,000. Second year, it's now worth 3,000. Third year, it's now worth 2,000. Fourth year, it's now worth 1,000. So what does this mean? It's a decrease in the price that you bought it for. So that's what depreciation is all about. Depreciation is about a decrease in the price that you bought whatever the goods are that you bought at that time. One very big example of what depreciation is a car. You can buy a luxurious car, guys, maybe RS7, you know, Audi lovers there. So if you do buy that, as soon as you leave the dealership with that RS7, definitely you know that it will no longer be worth the millions that it is worth when you first went to buy it. It will be worth way less than that. So even if you were to say, can I please return this, I don't like it anymore, they're not going to give you the very same amount of money for that. But if maybe you go to a shop and you buy something and then you find that, okay, it's not something that you want, you know you can always go and get your refund back. But that's not what depreciation is about. Depreciation is about a decrease in value of the initial amount that you might have bought something with or actually invested at that time. Because remember that investment is not only about appreciation, it can also be about depreciation. So our big idea here is the principal amount. The principal amount is what you bought it for, right? So this is what you bought it for or what you invested at the time. And then we have what we call scrap value or book value. They also mean one and the same thing. And this will be what it is worth after a certain duration of time. And then we have the rate of depreciation. So that will tell us at what rate is the amount that you bought it for depreciating at. So the computer that we saw, how much was it depreciating at what rate? That's what rate of depreciation is. But now let's put this into mathematics and see exactly what does it mean. The equation for this will be, remember I said it's a simple interest, but simple interest, which means depreciation in this context. So depreciation would then be a minus. That's the big idea here. So my A will be the scrap value, principal amount would be the P, then the rate of depreciation would be the R. Now, what I want you to think about there, guys, is you need to think about between the A and the P, which one will be more than the other? Let me just give you a minute to think about that. So clearly you know that it will be the A that will be less than the P. So meaning the principal amount will be a bit more, or actually way more than the A, because the A will be the, as it is even saying, scrap value. So it's like now you no longer want to use it and you are selling it, or you are maybe taking it back to the dealership to say, okay, can I now sell this, trade it in? At times you'll see they use the word trade in value as well. It means one and the same thing. It means it is the value that it has decreased to after a certain duration of time. Now, if we were to calculate this, so we have a transport company which purchases a new lorry to the value of that. So the value is 1,250,000. Now we need to calculate the scrap value of the lorry in 6 years' time, right? If the lorry's value decreases, depreciates means one and the same thing, at a rate of 11% per annum according to the straight line method. Remember, guys, when I spoke about the big idea here, there were two concepts, straight line and reducing. So they always need to emphasize which method we are dealing with at the time. So if I do a calculation for this, is my formula will then be A is equals to P 1 minus I multiplied by N, right? So quickly, if we look at our data, remember that A is what I don't know, that's my scrap value, but P will actually be the 1,250,000. And then my I, which is the interest, will be 11% on a straight line method. So I will emphasize that it's a straight line method so that when you do your calculation, you don't confuse the two. Now with this, if I do the calculation, it will then be equals to 1,250,000 into 1 minus, my interest is 11%, so it's 0.11 multiplied by this, they said is 6 years, right? And then we'll just need our calculator for that. Let me just put it this side. So that will be 1,250,000. Let's minus 1 0. Okay, I need one more zero there. Open a bracket. This will be 1 minus 0.11 multiplied by the 6, and then this will be equals to that. So you can see, guys, after 6 years, this is going to be worth 425,000, right? So after 6 years, this will be 425,000. So what does this mean? This is the whole concept of depreciation. They initially bought their truck for 1,250,000. After 6 years, the truck is now worth way less than that. Why? Because there is tear and wear that happened on the truck. There is tires that maybe are no longer properly working. There is the system, the mechanical systems that need to be changed. So now the truck is no longer as strong as it was when you started, when you bought it at 1 million something. So hence it has depreciated. So there's a lot of factors that will then contribute to this. So remember again, I said the A value will always be less than the P value. Why? Because A would be the scrap value or the book value or the trade-in value, whereas the P value will be what you bought it with or your principal amount. Now, let's look at maybe one more example. A business now purchases 16 new computers, right? They purchase 16 new computers at 11,500, right? These, you know, would be your i8 and all of those computers that are quite good in terms of processors. Now, if each computer has a value of 1,000 rand after 3 years, hey, 1,000 rand would be the value of A. So it's the scrap value. What did it decrease to? And then remember the 11,500 will be the P value. Calculate the depreciation rate if depreciation is calculated according to the straight line. Guys, I will emphasize, you need to be told what method you are dealing with. Is it a straight line or a reducing balance? Remember that they are very different. Now, if I do the calculation for this, so the P value here was the 11,500. The A value went as down as 1,000 rand. And then the I value is what I don't know, which is the rate of depreciation, but this was for 3 years, right? So my calculation will be A is equals to P 1 minus I multiplied by N. Then you know this is 1,000 rand there, equals to the P value is 11,500 into 1 minus, I'm looking for the I, multiply this by the 3 years, which is 3 there. Then we'll just go to our calculator. On our calculator, firstly, I will take the 1,000 rand, you divide it by the 11,500, you find what the answer is there, and then you know that you're going to say 1 minus the answer, and it gives you that, which is 0.91, and then you're going to divide this by the 3, and you get that value there, then you multiply it by 100, right? So it gives you the actual rate, which is 30.43. So I will actually be 30.43%. So that's just, guys, some algebra that you will need to perform there. So you need to understand that the initial price that you bought the computer for, or this business bought the computer for, has now gone down by 30% in 3 years' time. Why, guys? I just told you there are a lot of factors that contribute to this. The processor might be slow, you might have used the laptop a lot, and you know, when it's a business, the laptops or the computers will always be working. So definitely, it would have been really overworked. Hence, you can now sell it for only 8,000 rand and nothing more than that. So the rate in this context will then be the 30%, 43%. Now, if we look at more of this, so they say the owner recognizes that she will need to upgrade these 16 computers, right, in 3 years' time. Why? Because now the business has picked up, and now there are more clients in the business, and now the business needs to be blooming. So now they need to upgrade their system and maybe get proper computers at that time. Now, the cost of the new computer will be 18.5. Why? Because now they need a faster processor, they need a bigger RAM, they need a bigger storage, all of those concepts of computers and all that I'm sure that you're familiar with. Now, the question will be, how much must she then invest now? If her banker says, we will give you a guaranteed return of 4.5% per annum, simple interest for 3 years. Now let's quickly just look at this. One, the big idea here is 16 computers for that much, for 3 years rather, and each computer is 18,500. So in total, it means the total amount that this person actually will need will be the 16 multiplied by the 18,500. That's how much they will need after 3 years to replace the computers that they have at the time. And then interest, which is charged at that. So this is simple interest. It will be A is equals to P into 1 plus I multiplied by N, right? The P is what I'm looking for. The A will be the 16 multiplied by that. So that means my A will be 16 multiplied by 18.5, which is actually 296,000, right? So A will be 296,000 is equals to, I'm looking for the P value, which is what she must invest now, 1 plus the interest that is guaranteed is 4.5, so it's 0.045 multiplied by the n, which is actually 3 years, right? So that's 3 years, not necessarily n, 3 years. And then we will need to find what the value of P is. So here it will just be a straight forward division. So it will be, I will take my answer there, which is 296, and I divide this by, let me open my bracket, 1 plus 0.045 multiplied by 3, close my bracket, and that will give me 260,000 and a couple of rands, right? So this will be 260,000. Let's just verify the actual amount, 792. 792 and a few cents there. So what does this mean? So if they want to do, or if she wants to then upgrade after a while, she will need to invest definitely that amount of money for her to actually have the 296,000. But remember, this is simple interest, so that's why she actually needs to invest a lot of money. Why? Because every year they will be adding the same amount of money. So the change is a very constant change there. So I hope, guys, that clarifies what it means to have decay or depreciation, which means the same thing, which is the opposite of what simple interest is. Stay tuned, guys. We're just going to an ad break, and I'll be back with some more. Hi guys, welcome back to the last segment of the day. So right now we are actually going to look at some more questions now. So we're going to be applying everything that we've actually spoken about, and then we will then try and summarize everything else that we need to do. So let's just jump right into it. Quickly though, remember we're still looking at finance, and under finance we're looking at growth, which is the simple growth specifically, and decay. And then our big ideas was simple interest and straight line depreciation. Now, the very first question we have is, Elon invested 5,000 in a fixed deposit account 5 years ago, right? And then the principal amount grew by that. So we need to understand this. This says 5 years ago, and the amount grew by 15%. So understand something here. It does not mean that the rate of interest or the rate of appreciation is 15%. No. At the end of 5 years, his investment was 15% more than what he initially actually invested there. So the first question, find the total balance on this investment. So that means it was 5,000, the time was that, the principal amount grew by that. So the accumulated amount will actually be, firstly, the 15% of the 5,000, and then this will be 15 over 100 multiplied by 5,000. And then if I just quickly calculate this, it will actually be, I will have 0.15 multiplied by the 5,000, and it will give me 750. So it means that this is 750, right? So in 5 years, this person actually got 750. So this would then mean that this will be 750 rands that, or plus rather, sorry, plus the 5,000, plus the 5,000. And that will be the total balance there, which is 5,750. Now, the second question wants us to know, what is the interest rate per annum, right? So the accumulated amount, remember, was 5,750. That means that our interest per annum will be the accumulated amount divided by the 5 years, right? So which will then be 5,750 divided by 5, which is the 5 years. So this will actually be plus 5,000 there. And then I divide this by 5 years, which gives me 1,150. So this will be 1,150, right? So now we want to know how much is this in terms of interest rate of the initial amount, right? So that means the interest will actually be 1150 divided by the 5,000, multiply this by 100 to get the interest rate. So go back to our calculator. I'm going to divide this by 5,000. It gives me an answer there. I multiply it by 100, and this will give me 23. So it means it would have been 23% that the person actually got a loan. This is per annum. Now, the second question is, a new car has a selling price of 185,000. Then Maria puts down a cash deposit. Now, guys, let's understand. As soon as you see cash deposit, already it is telling you that the person did not actually make an arrangement with the initial amount that this thing cost. Instead, it is that amount minus the deposit that they paid. So we're going to look at what is 25% of 185,000. What will be then the debt that Maria is going to take will be that amount. So 185,000 minus the 25% of it. And that will be the principal debt there. And then she agrees to pay off the balance in 60 equal installments each month. So already we know that this means 5 years, right? So that means 5 years. And then the financing agent agrees to charge an interest of 12% per annum, simple interest. They want us to calculate the installment amount. So let's look at that quickly. So we know that the selling price is that, the deposit is 25% of that, right? So we firstly need to find what is 25% of 185,000. And this will be 46,250. Right, so her deposit is 46,250. Then it means the initial debt will then be this amount, you minus the 185,000, and it will give me 138,750, right? So this will be 138,750. So that's the initial amount that Maria actually borrowed from the bank or from the financing agent. The time, remember, is 60 months, which is actually 5 years, because normally simple interest we deal with years. The interest rate is at 12%, and then the principal debt will actually mean that it's going to be the initial debt plus the interest, right? So that will be A is equals to P into 1 plus I multiplied by N. My P here, which is the initial debt that this person took, which is Maria, it will be 138,750 into 1 plus the interest is 12%, so it's 0.12 multiply by, this was for 60 months, so it's actually 5 years. And then if we calculate this, I will have 138,750 into 1 plus 0.12 multiplied by the 5 years. And my answer there will be 222,000, right? So this will be 222,000. Now we want to know that if this was to be paid in 60 equal installments, how much will she actually pay? So I divide that by 60 there, which will give me 3,700. So it means that Maria will be paying 3,700 every month. The principal debt, remember we said, was actually the 222,000. Now, the next question says, Maria's car depreciates at a rate of 6% per annum on a straight line depreciation. Remember, guys, you will be told which method you are using, straight line or reducing balance. But for now, we've been talking about only straight line. The initial selling price was that, right? But we know that she actually paid 25% of that. What would then the value of the car be after 30 months? Now, look at this. We are no longer talking about 60 months. We're talking about 30 months, meaning this is 2 years and 6 months, which is 2.5. Now, if we do a calculation for this, it will then be 2.5 for the 30 months there. The selling price is that. The rate of depreciation is that, right? But we first need to subtract the amount that Maria actually paid in terms of her deposit. So we actually know that our P value is actually 138,750. I hope you can remember from the previous calculation that we just did. So I will need to find what A is. That's P1 minus I multiplied by N. I would advise that you always start with your formula, guys, so that you know what you are substituting where and not just substitute anywhere, because you know nerves are playing with us when you're writing exams. So at times we might miss a substitute where we are trying to find the correct things to do. And then the interest is 6%, so it's 0.06 multiplied by 2.5, and that's going to give me the value. All right, so let me just move this up there a bit. So it's going to be 138,750 into 1 minus the 0.06 multiplied by 2.5, and that will actually give me 117,000. So this will be equals to 117 and 937 and 50 cents. Remember, I said we write our zero there, so that will be the value of the car after the 30 months that Maria actually paid for this. So guys, please understand that at times it does happen that you get interest for 2 months and not for a whole year. So you need to take that into consideration. Why this is really there intentional is because I want you to not only think that you're always gonna deal with a whole number maybe of years, that 5 years, 6 years. It can also at times be 6 years and 3 months, right? So you will need to make sure that you understand what that means. And then you write it as a decimal when you are calculating, and also that's the main thing that you please need to take from there. So let's quickly look at the last question, but I'm gonna need you to do this one, and then you let us know what you think about it. So Maria goes car shopping after 30 months. Then the salesman is prepared to give Maria what? 5,000 less than the straight line depreciation value. Remember, the straight line depreciation value is 117,937 and 50 cents, right? And then will this be enough for Maria to pay off the outstanding balance as well as having a deposit for another car? So let's quickly look at this. Remember, the value of the car we said was 117. Let me just go back quickly. 937 and 50 cents. 937 and 50 cents, right? But they're saying we're gonna give you 5,000 less than this. So meaning this will be 112,937 and 50 cents. And then the principal debt for 30 months now means that it's going to be the trade-in amount, which I will just call P, into 1 plus I multiplied by the 30, which is 2.5 there, right? So that will be the principal debt. And then the interest rate is charged at that. So it means my I value is actually the 12% there. The installments will be the total installments that Maria paid, which means it's 3,700 multiplied by 30. And that will give me the total amount of installments. Outstanding balance will be this minus that. And then you will then know that Maria will have this as enough to pay the outstanding balance and also pay the deposit for the account. So guys, what we are looking at here is what exactly is it that we are dealing with. This is a car, it's depreciating. It's depreciating for 30 months. What is the scrap value or book value after 30 months? You need to calculate that. And you look at there saying, okay, let's give you 5,000 less than that. And then from there, you look at whether that amount, which is 112,000 and something, will then be enough for Maria to cover the outstanding balance plus the deposit for that car that she wants. All right, so let's look at the quick concept map of what we've looked at so far. We've looked at finance, which we said was growth, and then growth is simple and compound. And then we have our decay, which is straight line and reducing. But our main focus was on simple interest, and it was also on straight line depreciation. So guys, remember, straight line is the same as simple interest, but under depreciation, meaning when it is going down. So that's the main concept that we've looked at. So guys, from me to you, that's all that I have for you. See you next time.